So, one of the things that we're doing as CROs, this is a really important thing, and I want people to understand this, is that we are placing bets. The job of a CRO is to place a bet. And the mistake that I think a lot of marketers make is that we place a bet and we say, everything on my product page is important. That's not really called taking a bet. Placing a bet is where you say, you know what, this one singular thing is the thing that I think is a really important conversion driver. You bet on it. You let people that have credit cards tell you if your bet was correct or wrong. If you're wrong, you go back and you repurpose, kind of think your strategy.
Rishi, it's great to see you again. Thank you so much for joining me. How are you?
I'm good, buddy. And anytime when Ben calls, I show up.
You're the man. I've learned so much from you. And I'm really excited to have you on today. I think the masses are really going to love hearing some of your CRO and conversion rate optimization hacks. You've been very gracious to hop into my Magic Pop mic store, and you're going to walk us through some of the opportunities you've identified. Before we do that, can you give us, why are you the Shopify P2P guy? You want to give us a little intro?
Because I guess number of reasons. I've done, it's having tested every part of the funnel. I realized one day, I was like, wait a minute, we're taking all of this paid traffic, we're taking them directly to product pages. The user is making the purchase decision directly on the product page. Why am I wasting my time on other parts of the funnel? And so I just, I'm a profit maximizer. I felt that this is where the profits was, and this is what I focused on.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. With Google Shopping, dynamic product ads, et cetera, PDP, I know this is your quote, but like the PDP is the new homepage. So as much as you can squeeze out of there, the more profits you can maximize. That's a great name.
And I think the other thing to consider also is that we have just one chance with the buyer. Even though we keep on telling ourselves, they're going to come back over and over again, they might. It's difficult to track that. So the one thing I can control is that first session. So I want to give them all the pertinent information they need in order to kind of consider me in that visit itself.
Very cool. And what I loved about what you did for Magic Pop is you didn't go ahead and like redesign the page. You just pointed out some, I'll use the word hacks. I think they're really sneaky and really powerful, and I'm excited for the world to see them. You want to go ahead and show this off?
I will do that right now. Yep. So I can get started, Ben, if you're ready.
Yeah, let's do it.
So, one of the things that we're doing as CROs, this is a really important thing, and I want people to understand this, is that we are placing bets. The job of a CRO is to place a bet. And the mistake that I think a lot of marketers make is that we place a bet and we say, everything on my product page is important. That's not really called taking a bet. Placing a bet is where you say, you know what, this one singular thing is the thing that I think is a really important conversion driver. You bet on it. You let people that have credit cards tell you if your bet was correct or wrong. If you're wrong, you go back and you repurpose, you kind of think your strategy. So the bet that I took, and this may be the wrong bet and it's totally fine, but I'm applying logic here. We know this in marketing, seeing is believing, hearing is believing. And what Ben has done here, which I think is a brilliant idea, is he actually has a widget where you can actually play the audio of a regular phone audio versus the Magic Pop, which is so useful for me as a consumer, because I can visualize and I can say, oh my God, I can clearly hear the difference. Mm-hmm. The risk is that if this is a really important conversion driver and 10% of people are interacting with it, which by the way, we can track for and which we should track for using Google Tag Manager. If I know 10% of people are interacting with this, but I know it's an important conversion driver, well, the solution is simple. Let's make 60% of people interact with it. Now, Sure. What are some of the ways in which we can do that? I'll show you one specific formula that we use. What we did was we placed the call to action right next to the product image, because we know this is a very high traffic area or high attention area. It's also placed over here, which is similar to what was there. But I also placed it over here, which is right below this animated GIF. And I want to tell you about the way in which we did it. We placed it conditionally, and I'll explain to you what that means. This is what makes this a beautiful idea. What that means is that if I clicked on play audio over here, then I have JavaScript code that tells me that this content has been consumed. If that content has been consumed, I don't want to repeat it. So this is hidden. And then also this is hidden.
Wow.
On the other hand, if someone ignores this, then they will see this. If they click this, then this gets hidden. So by this method, what we're doing is two things have happened. Number one is I've placed a very clear bet. And it's okay for the bet to be wrong, but I've placed a bet. Number two is that I now have a mechanism to maximize visibility while minimizing repetition. So that was my first idea, Ben.
I think it's absolutely brilliant. And the concept of finding something on your page that clearly leads to higher conversion rates and getting more people to take that action I think is what you're getting at here. And the way that you accomplish this is by, getting it above the fold. And I really love the conditional logic. So it's not like, all right, I already heard it, and it's not repetitive. And you said that's accomplished through JavaScript and like probably not overly technical.
No, it's not. It's not very technical. I mean, you might want to talk to a developer, but we've done this hundreds of times, and it's fairly straightforward code logic.
Very cool. I see that this maybe for this scenario, this is probably an obvious one that like hearing the differences in the mics. How would you suggest the average brand find the thing, or like think about finding the things on their site that lead to these higher conversion rates?
That's such a good question. So I can tell you right now, for no matter what your product page is, I can tell you about two elements that are massive conversion drivers. Number one is people going through your image gallery. We know for a fact that people that go through the image gallery are more engaged, have a higher probability of converting. The other one are people that scroll to the bottom of your page and read your customer reviews. I don't know. I didn't take that in your screenshot. So those two elements are always going to be high traffic or high conversion drivers. So you can condition. So I'll give you an example. Let's say that you have an image gallery and I say, you know what? This is a strong conversion driver. And this specific user comes here and he actually does not go through these alternate tabs. What I would do is over here, I would add a call to action that says, 80% of people that see our image gallery end up loving the product, some kind of copy. So you can use these placeholders to actually draw their attention back to this only if they haven't seen the alternate images. That's an example of how you would do this for any element on your product page.
Very cool. So it's get people to go through images, get people to read reviews.
That's right. You can do the same thing for reviews. If someone doesn't click on the reviews and scroll down to reviews, then I would repeat the reviews over here again. And then I would repeat it over here again. Like I would just look, as a marketer, I'm kind of a ruthless person. If I know that there is something that gets people to buy, I'm going to make sure that they notice that. Now they can reject it. That's totally their call. But I can't take the risk of not having them even noticing it.
Sure. Yeah. Do whatever you can to get them to,
That's right.
to take the action that works. I think that.
And the way I kind of look at it is that, the worst case scenario is that, some of them will get annoyed and they'll leave. But remember, 90% of people that come to my page don't buy anyway. So again, I'm not trying to be cynical, but I mean, realistically, most people don't buy anyway.
Absolutely ruthless. And yeah, if you could move, if I were able to increase this by 1-2%, just by getting people to hear the difference, which is an outstanding difference. It does clearly articulate the value prop of the product. It's a no-brainer.
That's right. And you're exactly right. I mean, the last thing to look at it from a consumer's perspective, I don't really want people to buy the product without having heard the difference, because there's a probability that they'll listen to it in real life and say, oh, this was not as great as I thought it was, and they'll return it. That doesn't help the business. Right.
And that gets me thinking here, even just like, how can I put this into my ads? How do I get, should I get a bunch of creators to show the before and afters? This applies on so many different levels.
That's a great point.
Cart emails everywhere. If this is the thing, blast it.
Genius.
So thank you for calling that out. It's your idea. Yeah. Thank you. I'm really excited about this lightning cable and Type-C thing. Let me give you some backstory on this. I didn't tell you about it, and I love that you called this out. So when I originally bought the site, it was labeled iOS for the iPhone, and the other version was Android. And someone when I posted this on Twitter and asked for feedback, someone pointed out that iOS and Android are the operating systems and really have nothing to do with the adapter and the plug ports. So then I changed it to Lightning cable and Type-C, but I still don't think that people know. And it's the number one question I get from people before they buy. And I have the Shopify inbox thing, and I'm just sitting around answering the same question over and over again. And then it's also the number one reason for returns and unsatisfied customers, because they buy the wrong product type and it doesn't work with the device that they wanted to use it with. So if we could solve this, and I love where you're going with it. I don't know what you're doing yet, but even that image I see, it really sticks out to me, because this is a really challenging part of the business. And I can imagine this barely scratches the surface with things like sizes, like in apparel, and like all these products that have various variants. So like, I think this is a huge find of yours.
Yeah,
and you can see I even added up top like select lightning for iPhones, but like it's still not that helpful.
Yeah. No, so what the viewers don't know is that this is the element that I added. This actually was not there. So just to give some context here, when I was looking at this Type-C versus Lightning cable, I am someone who gets one of the reasons I'm good at conversion optimization is because I'm the most easily confused person in the world. And I get anything confuses me, which has really helped me develop massive empathy, which is how I get ideas for how to, reduce that complexity. So when I saw this, I thought to myself, I was like, wait a minute, do I have Lightning cable on my phone? Do I have Type-C? And I wasn't sure. And I was like, what the heck? But I know how the cable looks like. I know that. So I thought to myself, I was like, what if we were to just embed an image over here and kind of show clearly this is the Lightning cable and this is the Type-C. It just demystifies it. And so we call these things, I want to be clear that people understand these things, all of these ideas we've discussed so far, we call these micro improvements. I'm not suggesting that adding this image is magically going to improve conversion rates by 10, 20%. What I'm suggesting is it's going to potentially have a 1% or a 2% impact. But if you add 10 micro improvements on a page, suddenly you've got a page that is, 15 to 20% better. And that's how you need to think about conversion. It's like about taking small strategic bets and not, like Ben mentioned, I don't want to redesign the page because remember, this page is working. I mean, assuming let's just play a thought experiment. Yeah. Let's say it's 7% of people are buying on this page. It's working for 7% of people. The stupidest thing I could do is to say, let me redesign the entire page because now I'm also potentially jeopardizing the 7% of people that are buying. It's too risky a bet. Plus it's complicated. Plus it's time consuming. Design is very subjective. Ben might not like certain parts of it. Whereas these things, I'm still sticking with Ben's layout. So Ben's not going to say like, this is ridiculous, but I'm making micro adjustments within it. It's easier to sell, easier to test, and it gets better impact.
Absolutely. Yeah, and there's such simple things too. Like I wouldn't even have noticed it unless you called some of these things out. Do you suggest with these micro improvements, your testing methodology? Are you doing a 1-by-1? Like, are you adding the audio, testing that, and then the image, or are you more of just like, let's throw it all?
I put everything in. I mean, really, at the end of the day, the thing that I care about is moving the overall needle. I don't need to know what specific element had what contribution. If I move the needle overall, we're winning as a team, and that's all I care about.
Gotcha. And that's way quicker.
Yeah,
right?
It's way quicker.
Like it would take months to test this stuff.
Yeah, and it's kind of meaningless also because at the end of the day, yeah, I mean, like you said, yeah, exactly right. I'll quickly jump to my next idea. Again, apologies, I didn't include the original version, but I think it said, the copy said today's special, free shipping. And I thought to myself, I was like, what? How do I create an even a greater sense of urgency over here? This is a little bit of a gimmick, so take it with a grain of salt, but we actually programmatically added this element. So if it's today's date minus 5 days to today special, so I'll show you an example. So today is the 18th. So it's going to actually say this. It's going to say April 13th to April 18th special, free shipping. A couple of things have happened over here. Number one is that I've kind of shown a day 5 days prior, so the reader knows that, God, if I don't make a decision today, this promo will potentially end. We also don't say the promo is ending today, which is we don't want to create fake scarcity, but we have kind of planted the thought in the mind that, well, maybe it's going to end today, and that creates enough of an urgency to kind of get them across the finish line.
I absolutely love that. That's such just a subtle thing, and you're right. It's gimmicky, not totally misleading. Mine was probably, it's all the same. I was saying like free shipping ends today, so it doesn't. Like if you come back tomorrow, it's still there. So yeah, I love it. This is like, to me, it's FOMO. It's like,
right,
shit, it's the last day, like a Cyber Monday type thing, right?
Yeah.
Like it's ending, and it really drives that urgency. So that's a no-brainer.
And for me, the fact that we're mentioning the days 5 days prior, like it just suggests that, okay, something might happen tomorrow. And so I thought it was, a pretty
fantastic.
I'm going to now get to my most important idea. So so these, what we've shown so far, these are micro improvements. I could have done 10 more micro improvements, but the idea was to show just enough so we can communicate what a micro improvement looks like, what to expect from a micro improvement. But the reality is, let's now address the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is that if 7% of people are coming to this page and they're buying, again, I'm just speculating here, that tells me that this page is doing exactly what it needs to do for 7% of those people. And look, that's a really important number for me, because those people are pulling out their credit cards and entering their credit card numbers. I want to do absolutely nothing to jeopardize those sales. But the reality is that there are three types of people that come to any product page. There are people that are buying, which is the 7%. There are people that will never buy. I mean, this is really important for us. One of the mistakes that we make as marketers is we say, if my conversion rate is 7%, that means 93% of people aren't buying. I need to go after that 93%. Don't try and boil the ocean. The way I look at it is that 80% of people that come to this page will never buy no matter what we do. Just accept that fact. So I don't want to waste time thinking about them, but that does still leave for me a group of people that, 13% of people that are kind of somewhere in that continuum of not going to buy, but could be persuaded. These are people we call healthy skeptics. They're the types of people that are coming to the page. They're kind of going through our image gallery. They're listening to our audio. They're even scrolling down and reading our reviews. But when Ben looks at the sales data, he notices that, wait a minute, there's no sales activity. So this to me is a beautiful audience, because they're interested, they're leaning in with interest, they're engaged, but there's something that's holding them back. And so I want to target that group. The question is, how do we do it? And the way we've done it is we have placed these two call to actions. One is over here, one is over here. They have different copy because we know that different people are drawn to different aspects. So someone might be drawn to quality matters. Someone might be drawn to understanding how we're different. We're also showing this lower on the page because, when the user comes to the bottom 1/3 of the page, that's kind of my Hail Mary moment, because I'm very close to not running out of bullets. And so I don't want to redesign the page. I've placed these two call to actions. First of all, Ben, does that make sense? Because then once you say, okay, I'll actually talk about the copy I came up with.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like not disruptive. And to your point, it's they've made it this far. Let's give them the content. I think when I look at a typical landing page, people are just trying to make an endless scroll, and the content probably gets worse. Obviously you're going to prioritize your best content. So it's probably getting worse as you go down. So if they've made it that far, I like how subtle these things are. I'm excited to see your copy. I think it's great. And if they click that, they're they're just right there, and they need that little nudge. I would argue that perhaps if these things were in here, this is the content that's below that isn't going to get them to convert. So I'm excited to see what you did here.
Right. And that's the whole idea is that, we want to make this subtle enough so that the 7% of people that are buying don't even notice it.
Right.
And if because they're already buying, it's really the remaining 13% that I'm trying to figure out. And so hopefully we have this in two locations because, to double the probability that they'll find it. Let me show you what I came up with. And I did this on my own. I didn't work through with Ben on this, but I'll go ahead and quickly read it.
Sure.
When you click on it, you'll notice, actually, I should just mention the layout. So you notice that we have a gray background and there's a pop-up that appears. So the idea is that when you click on that CTA, there's a pop-up that's appearing. This is the copy we have. I'll quickly read it. I wrote this on Ben's behalf. So it says, they said it couldn't be done. I wanted a kind of a shocking headline that kind of pulls people in and gets them to want to read more. My friends told me not to do this. People are like, what are you talking about? What aren't you doing? Then I can have two headlines here. First, they said audio recordings on cell phones were good enough. I think this is one of the objections someone might have. So I wanted to kind of reflect that objection back to them. And then one of the things, so the copy now says, sure, most people don't notice, but most people also don't know the difference between great sound and crap. Now, of course, I'm using a word like crap. Ben might say this is not appropriate for his audience. He can edit it. I do, and it drove me nuts that a better solution didn't exist. So I'm kind of showing my personal frustration over here and saying that, most people don't notice it, but some of us do. So that's the first thing. Then it says, my friends also said there were other options out there. Again, this is an objection that a lot of buyers would have, that why would I choose these guys? I know there are other options. So I want to bust that objection. And I did it by saying, I know, I've tested them all. Tell me if you can relate to this. So I'm talking to the buyer and I said, you find something new, you buy it, and it doesn't quite live up to the hype. If you don't like it, return it for free, which is what a lot of brands say. It doesn't magically fix things. So I'm telling the buyers that even if you come across alternatives that say you can return stuff for free, is that really a good solution? And by doing this, I'm actually letting them know that I share their frustration, which means my product probably doesn't fall in that group. Then I say, trust me, if I had found a microphone that costs $60, so I'm using a price point that's higher than this microphone, but was good quality, I wouldn't have bothered launching my own microphone solution. So again, here just clearly demonstrating expertise and saying, look, if there was a better solution out there, or a solution that prevented me from going through this headache of launching a brand new business, I simply wouldn't have done it. And again, this is a confirmation for me, for the buyer, that they found something interesting. Now, I know that our audience is our content creators, so I wanted to talk to them, and I wanted them to feel special about having discovered us. So it says, of the millions of content creators with audio frustrations, again, using the frustration the audio content creators have, only 5% discover this page. So here I'm kind of playing on this idea that you're lucky you clicked on this ad and came to this page, because most of your peers don't even know we exist. We don't have the marketing budget to target everyone. So we're saying, look, we're a small, upstart, and we don't have the budget to go after everyone because we have low margins. Their loss is your gain. You're a special person. You found this. And then over here, I'm kind of reminding them about how important this content is that they're investing their life in. So it says your content is your legacy. Don't let a cheap recorder screw your work. Again, screw your work. Ben might want to change the copy. That's totally fine. I'm just creating a template for Ben to use. And then over here, I wanted to use like a recognizable meme to kind of just show the difference between good products and bad products, and kind of inject some humor into it, break the monotony of the copy as well. And then over here, this is again my Hail Mary. So I wanted to add some urgency. I said, one thing I should mention, this $29.99, by the way, this is dynamic. So we've added JavaScript code. So when Ben changes his price, this is going to change to whatever that price is. Offer is an experiment. We had a few heated debates about doing it. I'm trying to suggest that, not everyone on my team wanted to do this, but some of my team felt it was risky. I'm just going to run with it. I'm just going to run with it for a few days to see if it's working for us. The bet we're making is that people will buy it and do free advertising for us. So again, just letting people know what the stakes are and that this is an experiment. The promo might still be online next week. So I'm saying, yes, instead of playing on the fact that this is going to go away, I want to do the opposite. I want to say the promo might still be online next week, but we can't guarantee it. And then over here, I added a CTA that says you deserve better audio. When you click on it, it takes you back to the page. And hopefully at that point, you've been primed enough to buy it.
Can I tell you, I've never read sales copy and gotten chills and goosebumps like I have right now. It's very humanizing. I love my friends thought I was crazy. My team doesn't want to do this deal. Yeah. I've had the problem that you're having. I think that captures just so much personality and makes it so authentic. Part of me, I would want everyone to read this. Why do you have it? I feel yes, I know that 7% that you talked about. Is that the point? Is people are going to buy it. Let's let them buy it. People aren't going to buy it. Let's forget about them. But for those in the middle, this is what's going to move them over the edge. Does that really encapsulate your thought?
I think it's a journey. So at stage number one, the first thing I want to do when I work with Ben is I don't want to screw his existing conversion rates. So I've created this kind of off ramp for people that need more convincing. And now what Ben doesn't realize is that this is just one of the variants that I would run. So we've created a mechanism so that people that essentially, in a very simple term, I've created a mechanism so that anyone who's not convinced can raise their hand up and say, I'm not convinced. That's really the only thing I care about. Once they've raised their hand up, I'm showing them a pop-up. What they don't know is what version of the pop-up content they'll be shown. We would come up with multiple expressions. Maybe in one version, we would have a shorter version. Maybe in one version, we would tell more of Ben's story, et cetera, et cetera. We've got a whole bunch of kind of, solutions that are built in. What I'm trying to do at this point is I'm trying to break into a safe. And I'm trying to find what is the best combination that has the biggest impact on the group that is currently not buying. Once I find my monster success, I would go back to Ben and I would say, hey, Ben, I found a version that didn't disturb the conversion rates of the 7%, plus it added another 8% conversion rates on top of that. Our conversion rates are now 15%. Now, the thing is that only when we look at the analytics data, we might discover only 10% of people are clicking on either of these pop-ups. So then the next logical conclusion is, how do we take this content and redesign our product page to not redesign, but repurpose our product page to have this content? The good news is that at that point, Ben already knows that it's driving 8% extra in revenue. So he already has an idea as to what the economic value that he's captured. He's more motivated now or open now to actually testing. So that's the sequence that we go through. So eventually it's going to be actually injected back into the product page.
Gotcha. I almost want to make a video of myself reading this script, and putting that into my ads. I think it's so good, and I think like any product that did something like this, like talk through the alternatives. I don't know. I think it's such a good template. So thank you so much for putting that together. I think it's absolutely brilliant.
I'm very happy, Ben. This is it was so much fun for me because I was like, and the thing people should know is that you and I did not have a conversation about what the product does and how much we're selling. I basically was able to kind of in a Roomba machine autonomously figure out okay, where could the friction points be? Where are gaps? And how would I potentially approach it? And so I want to show people this because we don't have to spend hours and hours analyzing our data to figure stuff out. We can make lots of creative guesses and actually get to prototypes. I created this prototype in 2 hours. And so if Ben has a new concept in 2 hours, which we can start testing, it's more valuable than spending 20 hours and getting the perfect concept, because I'm now having people that have credit cards tell me if the idea sucks or not.
Yeah. And I've seen you do this before. When I worked at Google, I introduced you to a number of different brands, and I've seen 20% conversion lifts come out of you with these subtle, non-redesign micro improvements. So if I get 20%, Rishi, if I get a 20% jump, I'll be ecstatic. So honestly, thank you so much for putting the work in on my site and for sharing how these tactics can be applied broadly. Where can people find you? Should they want to test some of these things on their site and get some perspective from you on their pages?
I mean, I think that the best place to find me is two places. I'm on LinkedIn quite a bit. Another place. So my name is Rishi Rawat, and just search for me on LinkedIn. But I'm also come to my website. So it's frictionless-commerce.com. I think it'll really show you at a high level how we do it. And I think you'll be quite impressed by it. So, maybe Ben can include the URL in the notes. Those are the two ways in which I think people can interact with me.
Awesome. Please reach out to Rishi, just to even talk to him for a few minutes. You'll be mind blown. Thank you so much, Rishi. Really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure, Ben. Thank you.